Have we even had enough time to digest the magic we saw last night, Tom?
No, and I hope it takes a long while to digest. That was the most beautiful example of what modern football can be. We come here and we bemoan the changes in modern soccer. There's a lot more running. There's a lot more emphasis on positional play. There's a lot more emphasis on tactics. There seems to be less individual beauty, less room for freelancing and flair. Yesterday was the complete opposite. It was a throwback game with a modern flavor. These two teams were relentless. There were no moments of taking time. There were no moments of let's pass it around the back for a little bit and slow down. It was go forward, lose the ball, press. Break the press, beat them in transition. Win the ball back, now they're in transition. It was all of that for 90 minutes. This was the most beautiful modern football can be.
JayDee, did you like this game? Because I know some days we come in, I know we got the vibes, but real talk, what'd you think of this game?
It was the most fun I've had watching a game of football in a long while. I tell you now, there's a few games in my life that I can remember almost play by play. It was both teams recognizing, I'm just going to put my players in positions to be successful, and I just want them to just go and showcase why they're the best players in the world. And that's why we love this sport, because everyone can talk about or bemoan the defending, or everyone can talk about, oh, why is there so much space? This game was created of space. And the great players can make tight spaces look incredible, but the even incredible players, when you give them even more space, you just get what you saw last night. If they were still playing now, it would be 10-9. It would be 11-12. And that's how football should be.
Yeah, look, I'm just going to say this. There's so many parts of me watching that game that was looking ahead, scrolling ahead, saying, okay, all right, Wednesday, I don't even want to watch Arsenal Atleti, right? I want this game to be put on yet again today because it was that good. For me, I felt like we were watching a football masterpiece, maybe even a football classic in yesterday's match, right? I think of in the last 6 years, you think of where were you when, right, in the Champions League. I think back to last season, where were you when you saw the semifinal between Inter, Barcelona. You think of this match. I think of the match between City and Real Madrid when Big Ben's, Karim Benzema, and Rodrigo scored the wonder goals late on. This match is definitely up there, and obviously you think of the World Cup final in Qatar, but you hit on something, JayDee, that I was in New York. I was in Midtown at Legends. I was in the midst of the PSG Ultras, and it really took me back to being a kid. You dream of playing football matches like this. You dream of being in football matches like this when you're a kid. And I thought Marquinhos said the same thing, where he was like, look, this was one of the greatest games of my life. Vitinha said the same thing. It was the game of my life, and it's why you play the game. It's what you want to be a part of.
It took us back to just the pureness of the game, which is just raw emotion, and I just want to be competitive out here. And watching the quality that's matched with that raw emotion, because I don't want to say there was no tactics, because I want to pay respect to arguably the two best managers in Europe, but there were very little tactics in terms of instructions as to what to do. What there was a creative element of, imagine how many times have we spoken about this, where you have Olise turned up, Kane turned up, but then on the opposite side, Dembélé turned up, Kvaratskhelia turned up, Doué turned up. Like everybody in a forward position showcased as to why they deserve to be on this platform, and it was phenomenal.
We have the reigning Ballon d'Or winner being outplayed by his teammate, and that's no shot in any way at Dembélé. It's just how fantastic Kvaratskhelia is. JayDee, you were saying it before, he needs to be elevated in these conversations. He's been at this level for 15 months. He's hit this level for Napoli in the past, but particularly since he got to PSG, I think that we overlooked that signing a little bit.
When they got Kvaratskhelia, and so many people see the ability to go 1v1, right? The ability to go either foot, bottom corner, top bins. But what I see is a player who's willing to suffer on the other side of the ball. And he is the example for the attacking players. Without him, I don't think PSG go and do what they do last season, what they did last season. And
I'm so glad
he's been that way.
I'm so glad that you spoke about both aspects of the ball, because I saw, and I don't want to take claim of it, because Clarence Seedorf was the first person to make this comparison, so you give credit where credit's due, especially to a king like that, right? But he did remind me of watching, like, peak Wayne Rooney, in terms of his ambition to defend and help his team with that industry, that work rate, that hunger to get the ball back. But then when he goes forward, and this is not to discredit him because he's going to carve his own lane, but he does remind me of Iron Robin. You know, you talk about that decisiveness, that player that you just don't want. You can't do anything about what he's about to do to you. And that tells me how good you are. His ability to turn around and say to you, I'm about to dictate, I'm going to come inside whenever I feel like, whether it be a double step over, whether it be a drop of a shoulder. And defenders are so scared to be in that one-on-one situation with him that they know, I'm almost caught for dead here. Like, there's nothing really I can do here. I can just try my best to manage or hope that he misses. Yeah. But because he's adding what you said, that decisive edge, he is becoming a world-class. I take it back. He is firmly a world-class player.
We used to, at Napoli, I think a lot of people who would look at this very, very long name, this is not a normal thing for English language people to be saying naturally, he was Kvara that then. I think the biggest compliment to him now, everybody knows how to pronounce Khvicha Kvaratskhelia now. And that was not the case at Napoli, as great as he was. That is a world-class player. He made everybody know his name and know exactly how to pronounce it.
Does anyone here have any kind of question marks about PSG's ability to defend Bayern's attack in the second leg?
If I can score 5 goals, I don't really mind. if I have that much trust in terms of what we're doing going forward, then end of the day, just hope them boys, Marquinhos and Pacho, I just hope, just hold on.
A couple times.
Just hold on, because I know when we go forward, and let me tell you what PSG do have that I don't think any other team in Europe has. They are the most clinical team in the final third I've seen. And it doesn't matter who it is. It could be Barcola, it could be Doué, it could be Dembélé, it could be Carvara. It could be any one of them. But when they're through on goal or where they're going through, especially in the transitions, they are as dangerous as any team I've seen in Europe, ever, period. They are so clinical. They proved it last year. Bayern might be the better team, but PSG might know how to win games. And that is an important skill to have, especially at this level of competition.
Bayern Munich have conceded 8 goals in their last 2 matches. They've won the Bundesliga, but with them conceding this amount of goals and letting that many in, can they win the Champions League playing like that?
Yeah, look, Bayern Munich, if you watch and go back and watch the Bundesliga, I know you're smirking because I know you get to cover them on Numbers Online and Scoreline. Bayern, under Vincent Kompany, are made to outshoot, outscore, outthink, outcreate, and outdemolish every team they come across, right? Unfortunately for them, they came across a team that are the standard in European football right now. Let's not mince words. Bayern are the most exciting front three in the game right now, but PSG are the standard that Bayern Munich are trying to get to. And I think the biggest difference when you look at PSG is to keep pace with PSG, which Bayern did for the most part to make it 5-4. The difference that PSG has is PSG have such an advantage with their 2 fullbacks. If you could point to any weak point in Bayern this season, it would have to be their back line. It'd have to be probably the fullback position. And, you know, we're going to get into the details of some things they can do better, but that's going to be looking into the second leg. That's the matchup and the space I'm looking at. And we look at this, JD. You look at this back 4. Obviously, the big decision to go with Alphonso Davies. Some Bayern fans scratching their head because they're thinking, okay, where's Konrad Laimer, right? And Josip Stanišić being in there. Stanišić being better as of late, having some quality performances. But this back 4 is going to be tested, and they were tested by one of the most complete sides in Champions League history.
I wouldn't have no cause for concern. Vincent Kompany just showcased to me that he is growing as one of Europe's elite managers by his comments. A lot of people tried to trap him yesterday and put him in situations where he's going to talk down on his team. But effectively, as he said, it's 1-0. If we were sitting here talking about a 1-0 that was a bore affair, Hannah, we'd be sitting there like, well, it was a good game, it was a tactical battle, and 2 teams that kind of outplayed each other or kind of just did what everybody does. It was a sparring session. No, we're talking about the excellence of a lot of teams being able to execute in the final third. Do I think you will see wingers having single coverages in the next game? No, probably not. There won't be a lot of one-on-ones. Tactically, both teams will probably adjust and start doubling up on those wingers, as you alluded to, especially in the fullback positions. But I would just say, sometimes take the game for what it is. Please, can we just like live in a moment and just appreciate that we had 100 minutes worth of the highest quality of football we've seen with world-class players everywhere, and nobody disappointed. Nobody's at fault. Nobody had an awful game. Yes, both fullbacks were questionable, but I would be questionable too if I was going up against Kvaratskhelia or Olise or Diaz. Yeah. Like, look who you're playing against. It doesn't really matter. So I just want us to just stay present. For once, just stay present and enjoy the fact that football actually won yesterday. And that's all that matters.
I completely agree, but we do need to dive into how things happened and what could be altered. So, JayDee, you said...
Tony Bogert's going to upset me today.
JayDee, you said that there will be tactical changes for the next thing. I don't really think so. Because,
You don't think there's going to be tactical changes?
Take what Vincent Kompany said. Luis Enrique won the Champions League playing this way. He has no reason to change.
They know the element of respect of, we need to extend this lead as far as possible because as Bayern proved against Mainz, and look, Mainz and PSG are two different scales in terms of where they are.
Thank you.
But everybody laughs. But it's the sheer respect of, we still have to go to the Allianz next week. And we still have to showcase as big of a gap as possible. Because it's only 2 legs, because you're playing home and away, I'm trying to give as much cushion as physically possible. The only caveat to that is, obviously, you leave yourself open if you stick with the same tactics that you had. And I think losing that last 30 minutes is going to be the reason as to why, and I'm putting my neck out here, Bayern will progress.
JayDee, so I think part of the respect would have been maybe we're going to try to possess the ball a little bit more. Like, I understand in which direction you're going, but extending the lead at that point, right, this is neither here nor there. What I also found interesting from Bayern is the way that they pressed. So I don't think that the fullbacks were particularly terrible for Bayern, right? Even in a game in which they conceded 5 goals on 5 shots on target, because it was an impossible situation. Bayern's bet was, we're going to press them high like hell. And normally when you press high, you leave one center back open. Like, you'll have Harry Kane going back and forth, so that you have an extra man in defense. So inevitably, when Dembélé, Doué, Barcola, Kvaratskhelia, whoever's on the pitch at any given moment, beats their man one-on-one, as they are to do because they are world-class, you have an extra defender. There were a lot of moments where Bayern's bets were, well, even if we have an extra man in defense, they could beat 2. So we're going to press high, and we're going to go man for man up the pitch. It's going to give us a higher probability to win the ball. But if they break the press, they're going to get high-quality chances. That's why you see PSG score 5 goals with less than 40% of the ball. That's why you see they score 5 goals with 5 shots on target, because they were all high-quality chances. It's also why Bayern had almost 60% of the ball, because a lot of times they won the ball back in the middle third. They didn't let PSG get to the final third. So I think that's a fascinating kind of back-and-forth chess match, and I don't know how much that's going to change. The Bayern fullbacks need help. Every fullback in the world needs help against this PSG attack. Will Kompany, I think he'll stick this way with a very aggressive press.
Yeah,
I think that we're going to be talking about, and he said that the tackles that Ta and Upamecano and the fullbacks made, yeah, that's true. They had a ton of time where they had to do that. And that's just a symptom of the way that they play.
I just think they will adjust. I only think they'll adjust because of the factors you're talking about. No matter what, Vincent Kompany's still a defender at heart. And he's still, he can tell publicly, and which is right. I think it's a right thing to do, to publicly defend your players, especially the defensive side, and be like, no, I think they were world-class in terms of the decisions they made, and sometimes it's just the quality that's the opposite side of the ball. But at the same time, he'll know from a head coach perspective, I need to do more to protect these players. I need to get more, whether it's legs around them, whether it's industry, maybe that's a tactical adjustment on the pitch of Kimmich filling into certain positions or whatever else. But they know that they cannot allow that level of freedom for the world-class talent that's on the opposite side of the bench. Because if you give Luis Enrique any opportunity to implement who he is on a game of football, you're going to see exactly what you saw last night.
Lahoud, what's something both sides need to do to improve defensively going into that second leg next week?
Yeah, I'm glad we're talking about this, because I really think this is what's going to make or break the second leg, right? Is who is going to adapt for 2 managers that are wedded to their principles, and 2 managers, why would you change unless you're playing against each other? I'm going to start with PSG, because looking at the match, it's all in the details, right? One player that hasn't been available for PSG for much of the season has been Fabian Ruiz. Were you at the Emirates against Arsenal in the semifinal? I'm not bringing it up for anything other than this. Fabian Ruiz, the work he does defensively, it protects Nuno Mendes.
Yeah.
Nuno Mendes is the best fullback, left fullback in world football, right? PSG have the best 2 fullbacks in the game right now. But you need your João Neveses, you need your Fabian Ruizes to go and do the dirty work. For Bayern Munich, we talked about the fullbacks. For me, yes, Alphonso Davies, when healthy, first choice fullback. The big question is, who do you roll with in that other fullback position? Knowing that Alphonso Davies and Kvaratskhelia, right, that's going to be one to watch. But, Alphonso Davies and Desiree Doué on that side. Konrad Laimer has to start the second leg for me. Has to start. Because because watching Josip Stanišić, he ball watches too much for me. He ball watches way too much. So if you're Kvaratskhelia and you see Stanišić on the team sheet, let me get my bib. Just put my. It's time to eat, man. He's gonna eat him alive, JayDee. Come on, man. The big thing Konrad Laimer has is his ability to keep up pace-wise with Kvaratskhelia. It's not going to be like for like in terms of athletic prowess, but I would start Konrad Laimer on the right, Alphonso Davies on the left, and roll with that and see what it gets you.
Boys, do we like Lahoud's advice?
I do think there needs to be a change. Whoever makes the biggest change, both tactically and also from maybe a personnel perspective in the fullback positions, probably will win this tie. Because there's no way, if I was to highlight one area of the pitch where both teams struggled, it was in the fullback areas. I've never seen anyone do that to Nuno Mendes. I've never seen anybody in world football do that to him. And the worst part about it is Michael Olise looked like he still had another gear. He looked like he was still chilling. Like, he was gliding past him. When Nuno Mendes, you know, the first 10, 15 yards, there is not many players in world football that can beat him there. Michael Olise, because of the way that he's so elusive, his body shape, and also because he can go inside and outside, it made Nuno he didn't know what to do. And it was up here he was beating him. It wasn't nothing to do with any physicality. He was beating him with his mind. I look at it now, and if I'm a fullback of both coaches, the fullback areas is where I need to change. And I don't mind the Konrad Laimer because of the physicality, because you know what you're going to get for 100 minutes, because of the industry and the work rate, and also because of how well he reads the game. He also then adds that extra dynamic, not to get too much into my nerd bag, but he adds an extra dynamic in that midfield, which you know, he'll step in, he'll almost do what you see an inverted fullback do. But I do want to see a better level of control in terms of just maintaining the wingers. I know it's impossible. I know I'm asking for the impossible. Yeah. But whoever can contain their wingers better probably wins this game. And I've never really ever identified the wing or that area of a pitch as being something that's going to be so decisive, because, you know, a lot of your key players are usually down the middle. Yeah. But the key players down the middle are going to do what they're going to do. Dembélé is going to be magical. Kane is going to be magical. What you need to understand is who's going to stop Kvaratskhelia, Doué, who's going to stop Olise, and who's going to stop Lucho. We've been getting all this time, and no one's even mentioned Lucho Diaz, who scored the goal of the game, by the way. Yeah. That touch, listen, forget about it. It's just how excited I get when I'm talking about football. Forget about that.
And do you know what's the best thing? We have it again next week.
Round 2, let's go, man.
We've got round 2 next week, which you can, of course, watch the second leg here on Paramount+.
Thanks for watching this video from Morning Footy. For all news and insights regarding leagues around the world like EFL, Serie A, and all UEFA competitions, both men's and women's, don't forget to sign up for Paramount+.